Hello, so this video will be about finding the best items for the slots in the early and mid game. I guess in the end game everyone will have the same items, so it doesn't really matter, but you'll use these items a lot more, so better get them as soon as you see them. I guess we can begin with the first item, the infantry weapons. What is the best one to get? Well, to be honest, the best one to get will be the crowbars at longer ranges, and at shorter ranges the shotguns. But to be honest, you should just get a bunch of crowbars and keep them in reserve, because they'll be much better from the beginning to the end, to be honest. And when you can upgrade, just buy an upgraded version of a rifle. So what are those? Well, these are basically the upgraded, I guess they're the specialized ones. So this is a suppressed weapon. As you can see, it will have a rate of fire of 3, but it's very important to know that a suppressed rifle means the enemies will not see you very well. So even if you shoot when you are concealed, you will not get out of concealment because the enemy will not see you, which is great. If you shoot without a weapon being suppressed, the enemies will most likely see you or detect you. I guess that's also an important distinction, being detected or not being detected. So yeah, anything that is upgraded. So the first thing will be the crowbars, and then any gun that is upgraded. You also have a version of a crowbar that is a little bit modded, which really is much stronger, but I like it a lot. Otherwise, you can also have something like this. But you can also have the range K-Pack, which is probably one of the better ones you can get early on because it has a rate of fire of 3 and it has a range of 9. As you can see, the modifications to the guns are very useful and very good. So, kind of like my favorite ones until you get the hammer and some other stuff. This is for the primary weapon slot. To be honest, the SMGs and the shotguns are very situational, so that's why I only mention them as a support item or something that you put on a squad that you don't really use in the front lines. Now let's go to the second one, which is the infantry special, and this is a very big discussion. So like I said, I'll just try and narrow it as much as I can for you. So over here, the best in slot in my opinion would be the ATRGL, just because it's one of the best anti-tank things in the game, because it has a range of 11. Yeah, you need to set up, it's heavy, it will make the unit encumber, but it has so many other advantages like armor penetration, armor damage, hit point damage, the range like I said, plus it also comes with a lot of ammo. Other weapons of this type don't have a lot of ammo and a lot of drawbacks. This also has great accuracy, and being deployed it will mean you will hit anything, almost anything. Now don't just think of this as an anti-tank weapon, think of it as also being able to destroy or disable heavy trucks in one hit from usually the side armor. The frontal armor will not disable it, but you can also disable it with characters that have some bonuses. But I also use it a lot against bugs, you know, the adult bugs, the ones that have 90 armor, against the speeders, against all sorts of nasty insects, big insects, but also I found it very useful against pirate infantry. You know, the pirate boarding infantry, the one that is very heavy armor. Yeah, sometimes it can be very hard to kill, so I just prefer to use this to kill. Now keep in mind that whenever you shoot something, you'll cause some suppression damage, right? Right. So this will cause suppression, but if you kill a unit from the group, it will cause even more suppression. So most of the times this will be enough to suppress an entire unit if you actually will hit and kill a unit from that squad. So it's so much better than people think, plus with all of the bonuses and the long range, and yeah, it's probably one of the best items in the slot. Next, I really like the autocannon. The autocannon is a bit of a nifty thing, but it has a lot of niche uses that are kind of better because so many characters have so many other bonuses. As you can see, this is good against anything, and the same applies as the ATRGL. If you manage to kill something, it will cause even more suppression, so yeah, it will shoot free autocannon shots, which is probably 20-30mm, it depends. Accuracy is kind of bad, so you kind of need to give it to a better character, but on characters that have, let's say, trinketing, it's amazing. Trinketing, scavenger, long range, critical shots, that's going to be amazing. Or in characters that have extra accuracy and damage, plus the tank buster and some other stuff. So yeah, this is probably the best anti-everything you can find. But again, it's a little bit on the heavy side. On the other hand, if you can see the enemy, you can probably shoot them. It has a range of 10. So as you can see, the idea is to outrange the units you're fighting. Now, and for the next one over here, kind of like the best in slot for most of the game. Like I said, it's not for the end game. The end game will be totally different, but most of the game will be something like this. Is this RPG over here? Now you may be wondering, why not the PAL or something bigger? Well, some of the things will be too specialized. So if you compare, let's say, the workshop RPG, by the way, is very bad, don't use it. If you compare these two over here, yeah, the PAL is a little easier to use, has an accuracy bonus, and the PAL does a lot more hit point damage, armor damage, but has lower armor penetration, which might be important, might not be important. As you can see, it's a range of 8, so I think I prefer this one, to be honest. It has decent ammo capacity. You have to deploy to it. This one has lower capacity, lower ammo capacity. But think of all of the trucks you have to destroy. So sometimes you'll have to destroy 4 or 5 trucks in a row, and this will do it. This will definitely do it, because you'll have enough time to shoot, or even deploy, shoot, and then just end your turn. A really awesome piece of equipment. Now, as for the next option over here, well, it's a bit of a discussion. I don't actually have it, but there are some... You know this heavy machine gun over here, the MCCMG? It's amazing. There is also a deployable version of it. I think I only saw it once, but I didn't buy it because I didn't really need it at this point. But you'll also need the heavy anti-infantry weapon, which I recommend this as the infantry special version. There are also mortars. For the mortars, I recommend this one over here, because I think you might think, well, it's not a lot of ammo, but think about this. You'll have the ammo bag and some other stuff available to you. Now, this is, in my opinion, better than the other mortar, because it has more HP damage, armor penetration. The stats are pretty good. You only need to deploy, you don't need to set it up. Plus, the range is 11 is great. And you can also launch smoke with it, so... yeah, you have a ton of advantages. This one you have to set up, and it has more range, but to be honest, you don't really need that extra range if you play your cards right. So this is, in my opinion, also a great mortar to have from the beginning until the end. You also use it on a squad with, let's say, 2 people or something like that, a support class. So the damage, the suppression, the smoke, it's actually very useful to tie up a corner. So if the enemy has a better angle on you, you just throw in the smoke. You miss the first time, you throw in the second time. You see 2 or 3 squads trying to attack you, you just throw a couple of mortars down range, and then just so much utility. I love it so much. And these are kind of like the best in the slots, and that will be most useful. Yeah, there are some other stuff, MP and other stuff, but you don't really use those. Same as for the laser rifles and the other stuff, you don't really use those that much. And plus, this will be much better for HP damage and some other stuff. Now let's go to the armor slot. Well, for the armor slots, you'll mostly be using 2 things, and I think my favorite armor in the game is probably the soft armor, because it will give you enough armor to survive mortar hits and some other stuff. At least in theory. As you can see, this has a penetration of 25, and yeah, look at the stats, and this is 30 armor with 40 durability. So that means it will actually hold up against a couple of hits, and it will be pretty good. Yeah, you will not be able to sustain a lot of fire damage, but trust me, it's good against stray shots, bullets, and some other stuff. Plus, it gives you 2 infantry slots, and it's kind of like the only armor you can really wear, so I recommend you buy it when you see it. It's good for all situations, like I said, and it's just miles and miles above anything else, especially when it comes to the rifles that might not have enough penetration. Most rifles will not have enough penetration to do serious damage to you. As you can see, armor penetration, that one is 35, but 30, yeah, you get the idea. And my next favorite one will be the load-bearing rig. Just because it will give you 3 accessory slots for your specialized squads, which might mean more camouflage, more detection, more ammo, and some other stuff as well. So these 2 armors will probably be the ones you use a lot. I don't understand the other armors. I mean, the pirate stuff is pretty good in terms of protection, but it uses up so much supply. Even the rags are much worse in a way. This is 7 and 30, so the cost will not necessarily reflect the quality of the armor, so keep that in mind. This is also true for the other weapons and the other stuff. Okay, so we went from there. Now the accessories. Well, this will be a bigger discussion, but like I said, I don't want to do an endless video about this, so let's just say that most of the times you will use the extra ammo pouches, and the ammo bags that will give your special weapon more uses. There's also an ammo bag that will restore all ammo, but I didn't find it, and apparently it's very hard to find, so these 2 over here. If you can find the camouflage kit, take it, definitely take it and give it to your spotter. It will be very useful. And after that, I recommend Jones, either the Recon 1 or the anti-tank one. Drones, apparently they're underrated a lot, because if you have a character that has 100 action points, you can set up the drone, and then you can also drive it to destroy something. So this is excellent when you have a laser lance hiding in the background, or if you have a vehicle that has a particularly nasty weapon, or you know, a lance walker or something like that. You just send in the drone after you know its general location, and then you can generally explode it and destroy the walker or whatever you're trying to kill very fast. Additionally, this is very good for spotting, but it's an extra target that the enemy has to shoot. So usually the enemies will not shoot the drone because they'll shoot at your squad. And one round of miss shooting can mean the difference between a fight you win and a fight you lose. So yeah, I think the drones are so much better than I remember. They're only 15 points, so I recommend you buy them as well. Also, the hand scaler, I kind of changed my mind about it because you can be behind cover. It's a bit situational, but to be honest, I like it a lot. Especially for a guy like this with the anti-tank weapon. So it's 12 range, and this has a range of 11. It's enough, trust me. Plus you can have the decoy. So again, it has a lot of synergy with other stuff as well. And it reveals the target for 2 turns, which means even if the targets move, you'll see them. So you find the laser lance truck, you see it, and then you don't see it anymore. And then you can use this to see where it is in the background, and if you remember which one it is, you'll be able to remember where it moves and what it does, because you'll see that as well. So you can run with that. So I think the motion scanner is very, very good, especially because it will help you find enemies around buildings, around corners, in low vision environments. I don't know, it's underrated. Some people will say it's not strong enough, but in a certain portion of the game you'll definitely want it and you'll definitely miss it. For the drones, other than that, what you would want as an infantry, well, I guess there are a couple of more options, but I would just say the smoke grenades. The smoke grenades are also going to be your lifesaver. Yeah, there's also the night goggles and some other stuff, but that's very situational. So I recommend you carry some smoke grenades with some characters at least, until if you don't have the mortar or any other options. I'd also kind of give a shout out, let's say it like that, to this thing over here, adjacent tile. And you have the attenuation skill. So I have kind of underestimated this, but you can actually set up a pretty good trap, meaning you see the enemy, you shoot at them, you leave this thing, and then, I don't know, it's kind of hard to get, but I found it from a sabotage mission. So it was a mission where saboteurs were infiltrated during the night. But I think this is very good in the early game as well for some different situations. But again, you can just play around with this if you have a character with a lot of concealment, or if you're defending something. I can really see some uses out of this. Yeah, it will use up a slot, but if you have the spots, why not? Again, you have to play a little bit around it, and you can also just drive there, use a character, drop a sack like that, or a grenade. I guess it can also be used by other grenades, and then just kind of run away as fast as you can, or, you know, duck, and I don't know. It can create a lot of funny situations, especially because you can use a smoke and then you can put that in the fog and then you can run. I don't know. Just silly stuff. Just experiment with some stuff, because you'll definitely enjoy it a lot more, especially on the lower difficulties. But it can also be useful on export, but you just have to play it better. Thermite grenades are also pretty good because they can damage almost anything and destroy anything, but the problem with them is that they are a more chaotic anti-tank grenade. That's the best way I can say it. Okay, so now let's go to vehicles. Vehicles will be a shorter story because there's not much to say about it. As for the heavy slot, one of the things I recommend you get first of all will be the rocket launcher and the ground radar. The ground radar is pretty amazing, but sadly it kind of loses its utility very, very early on. This combination is very good, but once you get something bigger like the rocket launcher, this will replace it, because the vehicle will become your tank killer, and with the machine gun it will even be able to attack anything. So ground radar until you get the rocket launcher, and after that you probably want the long barrel tank gun, which will just transform this into almost an APC, or I guess an infantry fighting vehicle to be more precise. And then also the 120mm mortar. So if you have the drones, if you have the mortar, if you have the spotters, if you have other skills, yeah, this will definitely be extremely useful. Plus, get that the old dude pilot. If you can get the mortar system on the old dude pilot, the one that you get in the beginning of the game, I cannot express how crazy that would be and how much energy you can get out of that. As for this over here, I think there are a few machine guns that will be better, but to be honest, this is what you will use for most of the game anyway. There are a few better machine guns, but they're apparently very hard to find. So if you are defending, you should probably take this. In some situations you need the mortar, but the mortar is more for offensive missions or rescuing other people. Drone radar is only useful in the beginning of the game and much later until, I guess you can get a second troop carrier, but that depends mostly on your pilots and how much free space you have for them. I don't recommend the M6 heavy machine guns and the other stuff because they are heavy stuff, so you don't really want to use your APC as anti-infantry because infantry is easier to kill. As for the slots over here, well, this is going to be much easier. You just need extra armor, 40 armor, because it also gives you armor durability, which is the huge bonus. Now this is only for the frontal armor, but it's worth it either way, because this will have 125 frontal armor, 165 plus the armor durability in the front. So that means basically the front of the APC will be a shock absorber of some kind, and even lances will not be able to kill you in a single hit. So yeah, armor and ammo. Not much to say about this slot over here, armor and ammo. By the way, pro tip, always have extra APCs, because I recommend you have 3 APCs and 3 walkers, because you can just swap out the APCs between the missions. That will mean you will always have a full HP APC. Now about the walkers. Are walkers worth using? Yes, they are. They are very much worth using, because they're also going to attract a little more fire from the enemy, but they'll get destroyed. But they're easier to get because you can get them from missions as well. Over here I recommend the heavy machine gun, or I guess it's a medium one, the GM6 or CMGM6, whatever you want to call it. It's amazing because it fires so many bullets, it has 10 range, it kills any infantry. It has some problems with the heavy infantry of the pirates or the rogue army, but other than that it's pretty good. Amazing. I like it because the walkers have the ability to turn faster around the corner, so you can shoot, go behind cover or flank an enemy. I feel like it's much better to have the walker. Besides, if something has enough firepower to kill you, you die anyway. So I recommend you use this guy. Well, again, it's not going to be a pilot video, but I just wanted to say, because this guy will have this thing over here, shield wall. I guess this guy as well, but this is not very clear how it works with the divine intervention. It seems like he's much better suited as a scouting unit, so I guess you can also use him on a walker. So these two are better in walkers as well. Also keep in mind that the APC has a vision of 7, while the walker has a vision of 8. I guess that means you'll have a vision of 9 with scouting and some other stuff. Otherwise, more armor and more ammo as well. So yeah, these are kind of like the best in the slots and the things I recommend you focus early on, and the things you should kind of get. There are some other stuff you can get, but I'll have to do another video about the pilots. Bye bye.